Let's talk about from the moment that you found out that you were diagnosed.
Okay, well, how I found out I was diagnosed was I do an annual physical every year, and it was November of 2023. That's around the time I get my annual physical. I went in, and when you do your physical, you get a blood test, and part of that blood test, when you reach a certain age, is a PSA test, which shows the prostate in your blood. So basically, my prostate numbers had jumped up significantly for the previous year, and at that point, my doctor referred me to a urologist to do further exams. Once the urologist saw the numbers, he suggested I do an MRI, and did the MRI, and unfortunately, this particular doctor I was working with didn't get back to me for 5.5 weeks. And during that time, I'm thinking, well, it shouldn't be that bad because if it was something, he would have gotten back to me.
Mm-hmm.
5.5 weeks later, he finally gets back to me and tells me, yes, it looks like you need to do a biopsy. And at that point, dealing with somebody that was a little nonchalant about the whole thing, I kind of didn't feel comfortable with him, and that's why I decided to do a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I went to Northwestern and got the second opinion from that doctor there.
Mm-hmm. And then once you got that second opinion, how did you know this is the doctor that I wanted to go forth with?
Well,
everything.
One of the first things was just his mannerisms, his availability of listening to, what my concerns were, I guess. He was very attentive, very caring, and I guess, and I have to say the whole staff at Northwestern was very caring as well. But on his recommendation, I did decide to do the biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I did the biopsy, and once I scheduled the biopsy, they scheduled the follow-up appointment a week later, which I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And once I met with him after they did the biopsy, he said basically, you do have cancer, and what treatment options do you want to look at?
Yeah. And then in regards to second opinions, obviously you got one. For anyone that's watching or listening, is that something that you recommend? Would you even recommend seeking out a third opinion?
Yeah, I would go with, and a couple of things. One, you definitely want to get a second opinion. Third, you want to make sure it's a hospital system or a doctor that you feel good with, that you don't feel is like pushing you to do something, that is willing to listen to your concerns, understands your anxieties, understands what you're going through in a sense, because the results of whatever treatment you get can be long-term. In some cases it can be short-term, and in some cases it can be long-term. So you want a doctor that is almost like your friend. And I remember doing a review once. I met with this doctor, and they asked me to scale him on a 1 to 10. I gave him a 10. One of the reasons I did that is I said it was like talking to a brother. It was like talking to a family member. I mean, he was really genuinely concerned about my well-being.